We are often told we are a nation of immigrants, a proud mishmash of the world, bound together only by fish and chips, cups of tea, and that oh so whimsical British wit. This couldn't be further from the truth. The definition of immigration is the action of coming to live permanently in a foreign country, and a country is a nation with its own government occupying a particular territory. This does not apply to the earliest human settlement in Britain. Prehistoric man arrived to find no government, no infrastructure. They were settlers, not migrants. The next arrivals, the invading Romans, also fall short of this definition. They created their own system rather than joining an existing one. They were invaders, not migrants. However, when it comes to Saxon invasions, there is more room for linguistic trickery, as it is true the Saxons were initially invited, but as mercenaries rather than citizens. But any sensible immigration advocate would steer clear of comparing Saxons to modern day immigrants, except perhaps Richard Dawkins, as they violently turned on their hosts and imposed their way of life on them. Similarly, the raiding Dalriatan Scots, a Gaelic group native to northeast Ireland, were also invader settlers. The Vikings followed a similar pattern. They didn't join Saxon Mercia as citizens, they pillaged the coastlines of Britain before eventually forming the famous Danelaw territories. Imagine if a right winger compared immigrants to the Viking invasions in isolation. There would be an uproar. And the Norman conquest, the last great military invasion, was a usurping of the existing elite, a transfer of power, hardly what is meant in the modern context by immigration. Though, some would argue the Jewish merchants William the Conqueror brought over for their commercial skills were immigrants, but this is debatable. There has, of course, been some historical immigration to Britain. The Irish have drifted overseas in tiny numbers since prehistory, but only those arriving late enough to find an established country can be truly considered immigrants. There has also been Romani immigration, first documented in the early 16th century, and insignificant movements of persecuted French Huguenots around 1670. And during the 18th and 19th centuries, after the establishment of the empire, some immigration did occur, most notably Indians, Africans, Germans, and Russian/Eastern European Jews. But to characterize Britain as a nation of immigrants based on small amounts towards the end of our history is propaganda, with the aim to guilt native Britons into accepting immigration and to deprive them of any notion of an ancestral homeland. No one would dare suggest the Maori of New Zealand weren't native, regardless of the fact they only settled New Zealand between 1320 and 1350, many years after the last large-scale invasion of Britain. Reject the lies. We are a nation of indigenous Celts fused with largely Germanic invaders, who, despite constant warring, both came from a small geographical area with significant cultural overlap. Know who you are.